What is going on, everybody? Hunter Dennis here, co-host of the Powerlifting Podcast. Just want to hop on real quick before this episode begins to let you know a little bit about what's going on. So this is episode 45 of the Powerlifting Podcast, and we cannot believe that we have gotten this far and shared this many stories, but here we are, and we're just keep rolling and rolling and rolling. This episode, of course, will be one of our recaps, recap number 3, covering the last 15 episodes of this podcast. I'm really excited for you guys to hear it. We had some amazing guests over the last 15 episodes. We also have an announcement to make as well. As you know, the Mecca Gym is moving. We will be moving to a much bigger location that we are super excited about. And along with that, the podcast studio will be moving. And we will be taking a short break between episodes here to get moving to our new studio to get that set up and continue to move on with this podcast. In the meantime, we really appreciate your guys' patience and support as we continue to build upon the Mecca brand and everything that we stand for. Continue to follow the Mecca Gym and the Powerlifting Podcast on Instagram for updates and upcoming events. We look forward to having some amazing guests and stories to tell. In the meantime, enjoy this recap of the last 15 episodes of the Powerlifting Podcast.
Welcome to the Power of Lifting Podcast. I'm EricCafferty, owner of the Mecca Gym. I am a strength and conditioning coach and a contest prep specialist. The focus of this podcast is to dive into the mindset and the drive of people who have done incredible things with their lives. What kind of brought about that kind of chip on your shoulder mentality at first? Do you think it was just seeing other people have success and not really, there not really being a, inherent reason for it? Or
that's a good question. Like, I just think, like, I've always loved sports. I love playing it, and you would play against naturals, right? But that's probably completely unfair. They probably worked their butt off behind the scenes, but they felt like a natural to you because it just came out there and they just made it happen. So that wasn't me. Like, I always had to work for whatever I had, and so I feel like that chip came because, like, if you let off, somebody else was taking your spot. Like, this may not happen to everybody, but it happened to me where it's like the coach is like, hey, we're going to give your starting spot to so-and-so. And it's like, what? Like, so that's the kind of stuff, like, terrible in the moment, but really, really helpful long-term.
Yeah. And that competitive nature of sports, I mean, how invaluable has that been, right? I mean, crazy. I mean, all of us are products of that for sure. Hunter with basketball. I guess myself, I mostly played hockey, right? But just having that, that the sports as that backbone, and a lot of people who are super successful, talk about that. Russell talks about wrestling, nonstop. What was cool is actually when I went to your office, your old office, which is almost across the street from here, but and you had all of the pictures up of, like, you had of people, athletes, right? Tell us a little bit about that, and is that still up in your office?
It's still up, yeah. So that's like my wall of fame, right? So, like, you've got, like, guys like Jordan, of course, Schwarzenegger, although I don't love what he's been saying lately.
Yeah, I have a few of Schwarzenegger, and I'm like, I might have to throw a drape over this,
But he's the ultimate American dream, and, like, even guys like Howard Hughes, Oprah, Warren Buffett, like, there's these guys, I look up to them in each of them in something different. But the more I learn about each one of them, they were so unbalanced, or they are still so unbalanced, that I don't like want what they have, but there's portions of their personality that I like when I'm making a tough decision, or, like, you're not feeling it that day, you're like, what would Arnold do? Like, Arnold's an absolute amazing success story. Like, everything I've read about him, I just can't believe what he's been through. I mean, truly a millionaire in real estate before he ever got an acting gig. It's incredible.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah, right?
You got to read his book, Total Recall.
Oh, gotcha.
It's a must read.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and he had already become a millionaire in real estate before he ever took his first acting gig. And they were trying so hard to push him into these roles of being a villain because he looks like a villain. He's huge with an accent. But he wouldn't do it. And they're basically saying, like, this is like suicide for your career. He's like, I don't need this as my career. I'm already good. Like he
Oh.
already owned property. He already had cash. So he just sat there and waited until he got exactly what he wanted.
Dude, that's awesome. How would you say that exercise has enhanced your life specifically?
Ooh, that's a good one. One, I already kind of led on to the addictive personality. It gave me something to focus on, and I have struggled with obviously some mental health things, especially as of late. And anybody that talks to me, I'm normally an open book about that. That's probably a different venue, but it gives me a place to just come. If I'm upset, I have a certain playlist I listen to when I'm angry. I have a certain playlist I listen to when I'm sad. And you know what? It's all right to be sad. You can come in the gym and be super quiet, put your hood up, put your headphones in, and just work through whatever shit you got going between those ears. And it's therapeutic. People don't realize the gym is therapeutic.
Oh, absolutely.
So I don't want to say it's kept me sane by any means. I have a lot of other things in my life that help, but it definitely gives you something to focus on.
Yeah, I 100% am with you there. So talk about, some of the struggles that you have had and some of the things that you work through. So speaking of struggle, if somebody is struggling or stuck, what words of wisdom would you give them?
So there's a couple things. A lot of it depends on what they're struggling with. Some of that just comes down to really understanding your client or an individual you're speaking to. A couple pieces of information I always got. One, don't punish your future because of your past. That's something that was said to me, and I've really kind of, embraced that just because I have a lot of life experiences, and it was easy for me to be like, poor me, blah, blah, blah. No, like, why would I bring that moving forward?
Right.
The other thing, my dad told me when I was super young, and a lot of it's because I was small. I was a runt. I was tiny growing up. But he said, attitude and effort are the only two things you can control in life. And, like, if you apply that correctly, hey, works, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, you know what? Go in, work the hardest you can, and realize, hey, this is a shit sandwich. How do you eat a shit sandwich? One bite at a time, man. You just eat that shit down. So, like,
right out of your two hands,
right out of it. So sometimes life deals you stuff, but the way that you respond to it is really what's going to define you. Absolutely. It's not the situation; it's how you respond to it. So.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a comfort. I talked to my medical students about this all the time. Two points just came to mind as you were talking about that. First of all, like, being able to deviate and being able to modify and still achieve your goal.
Yeah.
There's a certain level of expertise that comes from being at the Mecca and with the trainers that, like, Dr. Redden told me that he doesn't want me to do X, Y, and Z, and he told me he was going to talk to Eric, who's my trainer, and he's going to help me modify these things, or Ryan, or Marlon, or whoever. And you guys have enough expertise to say, oh, yeah, all right, so you've had an injury and you're not feeling your best, and maybe today's not the best day for us to do squats. What we're going to do instead is blank, 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 blank. Like, there are other weapons in the arsenal, right? So that's one thing, is being able to have enough understanding and knowledge of the fundamentals to then expound that knowledge to include some of those upper level movements and do them appropriately so that you can achieve your goal still, which whether it be getting stronger, being fit, being healthy, whatever the goal may be. The other thought that I had about deviating from the plan is that oftentimes that really is so critical. And I think that a lot of times people ask me, like, what's your training regimen? And a lot of times it's opportunistic. Like, it really comes down to me listening to my body when I step into the gym. And you're right, we're not old guys by any means. We're not in our 80s, but I've been lifting weights now for 27 years.
Seriously, I was thinking about
like,
that the other day too, because I'm like, God, somebody asked me, like, how long you been lifting? And I was like, gosh, legitimately, I have been lifting hard since I was 12.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I've put a lot of time in it, and in doing so, there's days where I will literally go in and be like, today's going to be a chest day for me, and I start warming up, and I start ramping up, and I'm like, nope, today's not a chest day. Today's a delt day or shoulder day, or today's a CrossFit day. Like, I'm gonna go do, like, I'm not gonna choose one body part. I'm gonna do HIIT. I'm gonna do cross training, right? So like, there's definitely a need to be opportunistic at times. There's also a need to be flexible enough to deviate, but then also, and this is what I was gonna say, like along with that, you need to be accountable enough with yourself to know that you are not just sitting in your comfort zone. Like you need, there are two zones, and I talk about students all the time when I have medical students and residents and fellows rotate with me. There is a comfort zone and there is a danger zone. You better stay the hell out of both.
Yeah.
You need to be somewhere in the middle all the time. If you're too comfortable, you're not pushing, you're not doing well. So like if you're in the gym and you're like, man, I really don't want to squat again, like I just want to do this, you know. But it's not, because like if you let that become a habit and it becomes comfortable, that's not where you want to be, and that's not the mantra, and that's not what we're telling people to do. But then also, if you recognize, if you can smell the gasoline, maybe you shouldn't light the match, right? Because it might just put the dumpster fire into overdrive. So understanding where those two lines are, and that comes with time. You're not going to walk into the gym day one and know where your comfort zone and danger zone is. That comes with experience, that comes with time, that comes with reps, that comes with hours, and spending those hours in training and having good mentors and having good trainers and having good, you know, gym buddies and partners and family and all those things. Those influences will help you to understand where you're at on that continuum. But I think that it's really imperative for people to stay out of the danger zone, stay out of the comfort zone, and understand that it's okay, and be accountable to yourself, and also don't worry about, and I hate to even use the term because my wife would, don't have an ego. I feel like I can hear her voice right now. Check your ego at the door. Like if you want to grow, check your ego at the door.
There's no ego. It's just confidence. That's all.
Maybe. That's what I keep telling her, but she ain't buying it.
It's confidence.
I think that you start to see, like, oh, I can accomplish this, right? You start to believe in yourself. You start to gain that confidence back, because I think that, you know, if you've put on a significant amount of weight, you carry, at least I did, I don't want to speak for anyone else, but there's almost like a level of shame at some point that you're like, how did I get here, right? And so you start gaining back that confidence, and you start gaining back that ability to set goals and meet them, right? And so for me, when it came to stepping on stage and making that decision, I had really just, you know, I looked at you and said, I want to see what my best is. I want to see what I'm truly capable of. And man, did it pull it out of me, right? Like, I mean, I laid it all on the table. Like, I gave it what I had, and just as difficult as it was incredible, right? Like, everyone should be able to have that feeling of accomplishment. And, you know, now I feel like, well, if I did that, what's the next thing I can do, right? What's the next big thing that I can go after? And so you start really chasing down those passions that you have in your life, being professional or personal.
Right.
It's a momentum game almost, I think.
Totally.
Well, and even just the way that you were describing your journey, how you started, your thought process was, I don't want to be this way anymore. Like, I don't want to be sick. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, is like the phrase or whatever. And then you said, okay, I strapped together a week, and then 2 weeks, and then a month, and then 90 days. And now it got to the point where it's like, oh, I'm going to go on stage and see where I can push myself from there. I don't think there's anything accidental about how that works out in the universe, that once you start accomplishing things, that just continues to roll and get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I mean, you're just accomplishing, you know, another goal,
and the confidence grows that you're like, I can do this next goal, even though that goal, like, you look back 2 years, I would have never ever thought that this would be the goal, but now you're 2 years ahead. It's like, I'm going to do this goal now.
Right.
Yeah, confidence is huge. We talk about that all the time on here.
Yeah, I think that I just wish that more people could, like, palpate that feeling. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of people out there that maybe they don't want to compete or you know, something like that, which is, like I said, totally fine. But just that, you know, that it's like, I wish I could explain to, like, the general population out there, people that aren't necessarily into fitness, like, how important doing what you have done is, because and that's obviously one of the big reasons why I want to hear from you, is because, you know, I want more people to get in that lane, you know what I mean? Because there's tons and tons of people out there that need to change their health, that need to, you know, get in the gym more, that need to, you know, flat out just get healthy, lose body fat, gain strength, things like that. And I feel like so many of them are turned off by, like, what we do here, you know, because it's intimidating, or oh, that's only for hardcore people, or it's like, no, this is like how fitness should be done. Now you can be Maggie. Well, you can't be Maggie.
No one can be Maggie.
But you could walk in her similar shoes and, you know, go full circle and compete. And there's you know, she's not the only one. There's people that do that. There's a gal, you know, at the show that Brad and Elaine gave an inspiration award to, that had lost a ton of weight and got on stage, and she did great, you know, which is super cool, right? You know, there are stories like that. But you know, I think we need to hear from more people like that and see that, you know, you are a normal person. We're all normal people, but people put labels on somebody like me because, oh, you own a gym. You must get to work out all day.
Right.
Or, oh, you're, you know, you just have good genetics, you know, you've been an athlete your whole life. You haven't had to try.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, sure.
Yeah, sure. All right, pal.
Well, you know, but like, you know, I can't, you know, for me to sit here and say, no, I've worked my literal ass off, or on, whichever way you want to look at it, for, you know, literally 20 years, like a long time, right?
Yeah.
But nobody cares because it's me, and I own a gym, and I've competed in 20 bodybuilding competitions. Like,
right.
You know,
It's
let's
a weird misconception.
Yeah, and it's like, and people, I mean, and Maggie gives me a hard time, like, yeah, must be nice, you know.
Just jump on that treadmill and get your steps, Eric.
Exactly. Even though, fun fact, I've maybe walked on our treadmills here once or twice.
True story.
That is
true.
a fun fact.
That's true story.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
If I want to get steps, I go walk outside, even if it's a blizzard. But
that's fair.
But,
you know, I would just add, so like, you know, and you asked about this earlier. I don't know that I necessarily answered it directly, but like, I'm a mom. I was in my 40s, right? I was overweight. I don't come from strong genetics. I don't come from an athletic background overall, right? And when I walked in here, I do remember walking in and feeling that, am I in the right place, right? Feeling that overwhelming feeling. Yeah. But when I looked around, the thing that was different from other places that I had been is I saw people who had results, right? And I saw people who were genuine in what they were doing. And so I just decided to go with it, right? And I remember one of our very first training sessions, you know, here I am just struggling to feel comfortable, and Corey Wagner coming up and being like, oh, I love your workout top. And I'm like, and I love you, right? Like, I've been obsessed with her since the first day. Do you know what I mean? Just that, like, oh, this isn't as intimidating as I thought. And I know a lot of people in the podcast have talked about it, but I mean, truly, I have never felt for one day that I was in competition with anyone here, right? I always felt like I was working against myself, and that everyone here was cheering me on. And I mean, just the support and prep was something incredible, right?
So people that promote stuff like that, it's like, it's not going to actually change your body. You know what I mean? Now, I'm definitely not against people, you know, speaking good things about, you know, just creating healthy habits. And like, to his credit, you know, he actually posts like some awesome looking food. I like fitness people that post like healthy food ideas. You know, I think that's
helpful.
That's quality, because, you know, it doesn't take a PhD in nutrition to come up with healthy food ideas. Right. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, this tastes good and it's not super high in calories. Try it out. You might like it. Hey, cool. Right? Yeah. So good on him, but yeah, don't get sucked into the 30-minute HIIT workouts.
Right. It's not going to be
garbage.
The ones that solve all.
That's garbage.
All right, what I found hilarious, this is the last gentleman that we'll talk about. He was on the top 10 list for the best fitness influencers on Instagram.
Oh, God.
And his name is Eddie Hall.
Oh, yes. Dude.
The strong man.
Eddie Hall.
Who has lost a tremendous amount of weight.
He has, and he's in a Speedo. Yeah. Dude, I think Eddie Hall would be an absolute freaking hoot to sit in a room with / talk trash to. Yeah. He actually seems like he has a really good sense of humor.
Yeah.
You know, somebody that's like very Eddie Hall-esque, speaking of strongman, is good old Robert Oberst. Maybe we should try and link up with him on here. He's a good dude.
We should.
Yeah, the strongman guys are quite the entertaining crowd, and I actually find Eddie Hall and
There's Robert.
Oh yeah, there's Robert.
Yeah, that's an entertaining picture.
Oh yeah. I find the strongman crowd a very entertaining bunch, especially the ongoing feud between what's his name, Halfthor and Eddie Hall. Yeah. I find that hysterical.
It is quite amusing
because they were gonna box, right, at some point.
Yeah, well, and then Eddie tore his bicep.
Oh, that's right.
And so now it's rescheduled. So they're still just talking trash and trying to sell this thing.
Oh, it's so good.
I mean, to their credit, they have transformed their bodies comparatively too.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, Eddie Hall still looks like a rhinoceros.
He's just thick. He's so wide.
Just a massive human.
His abs. Speaking of abs, as we talked about, it's like a wall. It's a literal small wall.
It is. Yeah. And then you've got Halfthor, who's like, gosh, how tall is he?
He's 6'10".
He's 6'10".
6'9", 6'10", yeah.
Jeepers.
Yeah, he's huge.
He looks good.
Yeah, he does. He's got nice symmetry.
Yeah, he looks damn good. Like, for as much weight as he carried around for a while, like, his waist isn't as thick as, like, Eddie's, for example.
Right.
But good Lord, that's a large man. Yep. And pictures of him and his wife, I'm like, dude, you're gonna roll over in bed and smush her.
No, that is incredible. She's
like half of him,
maybe even a quarter when you talk about total
weight
units.
Yeah, dude, she's probably like $120, maybe. He's like, what is he down to now?
I don't know.
But he was like 400 something pounds.
Oh yeah, easy. Not mid fours, but yeah, around 4.
But yeah, like I was like, 420 or something like that.
Sheesh.
Which, I mean,
so much weight.
Good for him for dropping all that weight because, fun fact, that's called a heart attack waiting to happen.
Right. And I think that Eddie, initially, before even the boxing started, he's thought, I got to change my body.
Yeah, and it's a lot of those guys, you just can't maintain that amount of size. Like, your heart's just going to quit.
Right.
I mean... Right. Talk to any we should get Noonan on here to talk about that, cardiologist. But like what your heart has to do to support that much body, like you're just not. I mean, look at like a Mastiff or a Great Dane, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they straight up just don't live as long because their heart just huge. Yeah.
They're huge.
Yeah, because they're huge, right? So, I mean, there is something to be said about being a more normal-sized human that is healthy. All the body systems work more effectively. But, I mean, those dudes are just an absolute spectacle. Same thing with the pro, IFBB pro bodybuilders. Yep. I mean, just an absolute spectacle.
Yeah, it's true.
It's, larger than life. Like, Jay, hopefully we'll get Big Jay Cutler on the podcast at some point. Yep. But the dude, still... after being retired from bodybuilding for several years now, he's still, God, what is he like? He stepped on the scale at weigh-ins here and he was like 246.
Well, was he really?
Yeah, and I was like, damn. And you're like, he's still in shape. Like he's, obviously not contest race shape, but like
he's killing it.
Homeboy is lean.
Mm-hmm. There, I saw this like comparison photo for his side tricep. And from like when he was competing and then recently, and it looked great.
Yeah, he's a freak. Yeah. He is a freak. Yeah. But it's like crazy, that it's like, dude, you're 246 and still just like still pretty dang ripped and like jacked. And then it's hard to imagine that he was like 280 on stage, bro. Like between 260 and 280 shredded on stage. Yeah. Holy crap. Holy crap.
So anyway,
the thing that I've come across most recently, and they're actually now talking about it within research parameters, is the minimum effective dose.
Yes.
And that's been something that before I used to say, I'm one of the world's laziest strength and conditioning coaches. I want you to do what I need you to do, and I want you out.
Right.
Going and doing other shit. And then the best part is that now I get to say I'm the world's most efficient strength and conditioning coach because research is now backing me up. Yeah, so that's what's up about that. But truly,
yeah, there's a lot of different ways to skin that cat, obviously. So a lot of times, people are looking at certain volumes, meaning, reps times amount of weight lifted per session, at what it takes to get them stronger, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like that approach has injured a lot of people. because
total volume or
yeah, I mean, just looking at like, you know, a lot of people used to be like, well, I need to get to X total volume to get to X amount of strength. You know what I mean? So they'll, you know, push their volume. And that's why you see guys, you know, they're doing like, you know, 7 sets of 2 or something like that, just to accumulate the volume with heavy loads and things like that, which, you know, volume is one of the main determinants for being able to make strength and hypertrophy progress, right?
I would say hypertrophy.
So that's kind of
me,
my point. Yeah, is I think that, you know, that's I would
just based on
argue
my
that that's
experience,
much more pertinent to from a hypertrophy standpoint rather than a strength. But, you know, the thing that you'll keep circling back around to, especially if you're talking about research perspective, is training intensity. You know what I mean? Which we've talked about a lot. But yeah, I mean, get in, get out. You know, what's the minimum you need to do in order to get stronger, you know, to not put the extra wear and tear on the joints and the muscles and things like that, because, you know, you start doing too much and that's a fast track to injury. You know, there's a lot of guys that have, you know, hurt backs and hips and things like that. You just get that, you know, it's overtraining is really what it is, you know.
Well,
and so how do you
overuse.
get, you know, the recipe is how do you get stronger and stronger and stronger without crossing that threshold. You know, there's the overreaching and then going into overtraining. Well, trying to accumulate, you know, that extent of volume sometimes when people are chasing volume, I feel is detrimental.
Oh yeah.
You know?
And so I think the thing that I've been looking the most towards with actually giving to both my clients and then also what I've been using is that for me, I have taken it to an extreme level, which is I do the compound and then I'm done. That's it. I don't even do pretty much anything else. And this doesn't apply to any of my athletes out there. This is something that I've come across from 15 years of doing this now at this point that I kind of poured into it. But in terms of like warming up, do I need to lay on a foam roller for 45 minutes before I actually do my squat? No.
I mean,
I
don't
need
think anybody should be doing that,
But
quite
yeah,
frankly.
but I mean, like, but in terms of like a lot of the warm ups and stuff of like band activations or a lot of this kind of stuff. And again, this is for me. Like, I'll say this again. I'll put that caveat back out there. This is something I've been experimenting with for myself, which I do not know its application to others. But the thing that I've come to find is that I feel great when I'm done with a session because like I'll have, you know, we'll do on Mondays our light day. Which has been hit or miss if we actually do it, like today, for example, because I had other stuff I had to do. And then Fridays are the heavy days. You never miss the heavy. And so when rolling into the heavy, I mean, the last one I hit was I did my opener last Friday, which is going to be 635. And then the week before that was 675. And we worked up to the heavy top single, and then that was it. Straight the weights, all that kind of stuff. The rest of that day felt fine. Next day, feel fine. No DOMs. No anything else, and I'm just ready to kick ass. Now, going into the light session after one of those days, there's for sure fatigue, and that's why that day is so important to me, is that's actually where it drops off, so I'm not continually carrying that with, but you have to have something to basically knock that down. But essentially, that's what I'm trying to do, is do a combination of overreaching with my clients now, and then do dialing back. So basically, it kind of almost looks like we're pushing up on a scale, 10, like 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds, whatever it's going to be for our jumps, until they get to a spot where that's not happening anymore. You drop them back down to approximately 80% or so, and then start to build again. And then it's just a series of these kind of sweeping motions. And it's been yielding lifetime PRs for 9 of my clients now, where they're just doing that at all times and just constantly undulating the kind of like the intensities to where if we're really pushing for our squat, I want the deadlift to kind of follow, or if they're a really proficient deadlifter, then it's still not going to be hopefully pushing, so they're not peaking both those things at the exact same time. But yeah, that's just kind of been what the style is. I've been playing around with that. But then interesting is I actually today am writing a conjugate program for the first time and actually following the true conjugate method to see that, because all the stuff that I was reading last night, and I read for probably like 5 or 6 hours just going through articles off like Elite FTS and stuff of just what the hell, like what is this? Can someone please describe it to me? And I found out what it is. And I can describe it
The code.
right here.
Let's do
Crack the
Okay.
code.
And I got an easy way to describe it.
Let's do this.
You have typically 2 different training style days, a max effort day and a dynamic effort day,
Yep.
both uppers and lowers for those. So for a max effort day, you're going to be hitting somewhere in the ballpark of like a 5 to 3 or a grand total volume of repetitions of 15 reps with percentages upwards of 90% or more. And then after that, you'll go from that exercise to an exercise that's supposed to directly help with any kind of sticking point that you actually had in the rep or in the exercise prior to that.
Right.
Then an exercise after that makes the second exercise better. Then a third one, or that's now the fourth one, is a balance exercise, just maintain balance and like homeostasis in the system. And then reps 6 and 7 or sets or exercises like 5, 6, and 7 or so are like fluff and buff kind of things.
Right.
And so
I love the fluff and buff.
and then the dynamic side of things, you're looking at somewhere between 50, 55, 60%, like a 10 by 2 or the 10 by 3 or an 8 by 3 or whatever it's going to be of maximum velocity with accommodated resistance. That's where we have the bands and the chains and all that kind of stuff.
All the craziness.
And then the exact same structure, a supplemental exercise that makes the first one better, then one like a exercise or an accessory exercise to help the supplemental, then a balance, then fluff and buff. And that's it in a nutshell. I'm like, get the hell out of here.
The honesty and the transparency of connecting with people and really just wanting to have a sincere building of a relationship where you can watch and take interest in a person authentically without pretense. That's where I'm at in my life. With a guy like Ryan Reynolds, it would become a parody. You know what I mean?
That's fair. The acting style doesn't fit.
That's very true. It wouldn't be accurate.
But he's too good.
Dude, you're a William Wallace character right there.
That's exactly right.
Or they could have casted you for the 300. That would have been epic. That'd have been epic.
I mean, a sequel needs to be in the books.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you could overtake Gerard Butler headlining that puppy, man.
Well, that was. I love that movie, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, dude,
beautiful movie.
Just absolutely fantastic. Yeah. So, I'll ask you one final question, and then I'll let you close us out here. But this is, kind of a more serious, deeper question that I like to ask. Who's your top 2 role models in your life, and I guess people that have influenced you to be who you are today?
The one gentleman I had already mentioned, the Father Stuart Wilson, definitely. The other, I'm not including family with this. I just want to talk about, it's split between 2 other people. One of them taught me a lot of skills, and the other one taught me a lot more about life. So there's a trinity here, guys. There's Father Wilson he was always my spiritual example that helped me bring me a lot closer to Christ. The other one is Ido Portal. He really opened the door. He was a major influence for me. Without him, I would not be where I'm at. And I don't care how that sounds. It's just the truth. And my martial arts teacher, Chris Charnos, I don't know that he really understands the totality of how he's affected me in the best possible way. And I hope he watches this, because I want him to know. You know, in life, you meet people that are truly special because they build you in a way that prepare you for life.
Yeah.
You know, I told him recently, I said, I used maybe 1% of the martial arts that you taught me.
Yeah.
And I used 99% of the philosophy to keep me from having to use that one deadly percent.
Yeah.
So, and it's the appreciation lessons. It's all of the life learning lessons and stuff like that. And so because people have been very good with me, Ido was a skills guy. He taught me a lot of skills, of which have influenced me directly. Chris has taught me a lot about how to work with the ebbs and flows of life. And Father Wilson has taught me what people are supposed to mean. And we're seeing see the flesh and we see the bones and we see the skin, but there's a soul underneath all that. And it's really easy to kind of forget that in our world that we live in, especially nowadays where everything's so divisive and polarizing. But Eric, you know, we have to. So the beautiful part, and this kind of coming full circle, is, and maybe leading on to the closing sentiments, I suppose, is what's beautiful about the things that we do in our occupation, our line of work, is that we have an opportunity to break down an individual's reluctances, fears, apprehensions, and boundaries, where they can become authentically vulnerable. And you become a part of that person's circle when you help them build themselves back. You become a part of their journey and their inner circle.
Absolutely.
And for me, there is nothing more beautiful than that, because that is using the gift that you've been given.
Absolutely.
It's that, you know, you can't really put a price tag on it, and you can't really, you know, when a person says, I could not have done this without you, and by that I mean you've made me a better person. It's like, dude, what do you say to that?
Right.
Yeah.
I made you a better person. It's like, it's one thing to lift certain things or to be able to balance or something like that, but when you can touch somebody. So, you know, a good trainer can replicate skills in their students. A good teacher will move souls.
Yeah. I agree. 100%.
I have a lot of young, very eager, aggressive, clients that, you know, they want to be, you know, at that next level. They want that ideal physique, and they want to do the shows and this and that. And it's just something I wish I knew is like, let's, back at their age, is just slow everything down. Let's get strong. Let's get very controlled in the movement. Figure out your body, because a lot of them are still growing, which is crazy. But yeah, just slowing things down, and that has helped a lot. So less is more. You don't have to come in here and bang all these weights, a ton of volume. Just be in the set and slow things down.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah.
I think in general, probably one of the things that I say the most to my clients is slow down.
Yeah. Oh, all the time. Yeah.
You all, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure most of the good trainers would say that.
Yeah. Just, less is more with that.
Yeah.
And then it's weird, like, you tell them to slow down, like, literally count out the negative in seconds for them, and then they go, wow, that was way harder. Like, imagine that. Yeah. We don't got to do.
Drop the weight a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we always do. Yeah, because they're like, oh, no, I used to do that. Well, no, not at the negative I want you to do. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's a lot to be said for control, for sure. I think that's something that, I mean, shoot, I know for a long time, I mean, I didn't care about negatives. It was just how much weight you could lift.
Same.
Right.
Yep.
We
Ego.
all go through that.
Big lats through the door. Yeah.
So what's your favorite body part to train?
Legs. I love training legs.
Specifically to muscle group, or just as a whole?
As a whole, I would say. Yeah, I wouldn't separate out quads or hams differently. I just love both of them. Chest training, obviously. All dudes love chest training, but I'd say legs and chest. That's where it's at.
Oh, dude, I can get on that train.
Yeah.
If I only had to train legs or chest, dude, I'd
be the
so
best.
happy.
Yeah.
Those are like the two parts that I don't need to train though as much. Wow. Okay. I still need to train them, but you know what I mean. If there was parts that somebody was like, you know, telling me that would use less volume and be okay, it was certainly those. You know.
Yeah.
I think that it's because I agree with you. Those are two of the better parts to train. You know what I mean? Just love it.
Yeah. I look forward to those for sure.
Do you like training arms?
I do. I'm stoked that arms, like, I have an arm day now. Before I did not have an arm day, but now, like, that was my feedback. Grow your arms. So I have an arm day. I'm so stoked.
Yeah, I don't understand how people don't have an arm day. I'm gonna be honest. Like,
well, you just can't, like, chest and tris, but can you really get that, like,
that response and doing like I can't. It's just like one set of tries at the end of a chest workout.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I need a lot more volume than that.
Right.
Yeah. No. I just don't know. Like I've talked to people that have like not trained arms for like a long time, and I'm like, how do you not train arms?
Unless genetically they're massive. Like arm day it is.
It's essential. Granted, I will admit I don't necessarily like arm day. It's like it's like my post. Like today's Thursday. I usually do arms on Thursday, even though I trained back today, so I'm kind of telling a lie. But normally, liar. Normally, I do train arms post massage day if I do get a massage, because it's like I'm usually somewhat feeling the aftermath of deep tissue work.
Little beat up, yeah.
Yeah, and so like arms is a good compromise because you're still getting blood flow, you're still getting a workout in, but it's not gonna tear your CNS up or anything like that. But I gotta be honest, I'm not like the biggest fan of arm day. Like I love an arm pump.
Sure.
I'm
the
not
best,
a huge fan of arm day. It's just
Getting the pump is.
it's just it's just tough. I mean, for we talked about today, like working out is highly psychological. It's you're kind of after that fix, the runner's high, so to speak, but from lifting, right?
Yep.
Doing arms, it's like you gotta train arms to get any sort of like that psychological benefit, dopamine release from arm training.
True.
So just not big muscle groups, but
a culture of like always being up and always being happy and always like we would literally send each other back outside the building if we did not walk in the building with a high posture and our head high and a smile on our face. Like you weren't
it's a lot of pressure.
Right? Oh my gosh. And that's when my migraines started too. So I was popping Excedrin like Tic Tacs because I kept getting headaches, but I didn't know why. I was on my way to work and I was crying on the way to work and I didn't know why. And I would like wipe off the tears and like redo my makeup and then put on my happy Mandy, Coach Mandy face. Yeah. And I was like so ashamed that I was sad. Because I felt like I had this dirty little secret that I couldn't share, but I didn't know why. That Mandy had no idea what was going on. Yeah. Now I can look back and I could tell what was going on.
Yeah.
But
hindsight.
Yeah. It was, it wasn't an authentic space. It wasn't safe to like, and we didn't, this is pre-Brene Brown.
Sure. Yeah.
Like vulnerability. You're familiar with Brene Brown?
Yes.
Yeah, you guys. So vulnerability, authenticity, that wasn't in our culture. That wasn't the language.
No, that was not the thing back then for sure.
Yeah.
Well, just anywhere. Like I don't even think maybe just not even particular to the career you were on, but just overall professionalism.
Yeah.
Overall carrying yourself in public.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Put on the mask.
Yeah.
Go outside and smile.
Exactly. And who had the best mask, wins.
Yeah.
And so the biggest thing that was bothering me, and I started creating, I remember, an Excel spreadsheet of my clients, because I was like, what's really going on? Because we're about results. So like if you hired me to coach you, let's say you had the result of getting to your gym, your business in your gym to a certain point.
Right.
And so I felt like I got into this business because I wanted to help people.
Right.
And my conversations started to seem like Groundhog's Day. Where it was like the same problem over and over, and every 2 weeks it was like, "Hey Eric, so how's the gym going?" Yeah. Well, it's going. Or like if you wanted to write a book, like how's it? Well, this happened with my kids and da da da. And I was like, "My gosh, am I helping? Am I making a difference?"
Right.
Because it was like I wasn't witnessing progression.
Yeah.
And it was weighing on me, but you weren't supposed to talk about it. Like, we didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't feel safe to go, hey, do you guys know what you're doing? Because I don't think I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I was going to bring it out here in the break room real quick.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Any idea what you're doing?
Yeah.
So how did you end up getting out of that, and where did your journey take you from there?
I just, after less than 2 years, I just got burned out because I don't believe in having over 100 clients, and it was just too much. So I got burnt out, and, I went into it being very altruistic and wanting to help people. Right. And then I came out being almost like Leonardo DiCaprio, Wolf of Wall Street. I'm like, I don't care about helping people. I just want to make money. So it like changed me, where I was like, you know, and that really wasn't authentically me, but that's at the moment. And so I'm like, I want sales. I want to be in sales. I'm going to make money. That's what I'm going to do.
I already know how to coach people in sales.
Exactly.
So I'll just coach myself.
Yeah, and I had all my clients who were making all this money in sales, and I'm like, I could do that.
Right.
So I got into sales, and so you know me, very trusting.
There we go.
Tell us.
God, I feel like this is like a confessional podcast now. My
yeah, I love
gosh.
it.
Yeah.
I like
Somebody could be listening to this and be like, "Oh my gosh, she is me."
She's
yeah,
right.
Yeah,
Very,
yeah.
very
If you're naive and trusting, welcome to the club. It's like that. I don't think I'm ever going to change that, but I appreciate people like you. Like, I've surrounded myself with people like you. Like, and my husband's like you. He's like not trusting, so skeptical.
Yes,
like, I need to have that.
Yeah,
Because like,
yeah.
hey, should I go down this path? Like, what do you think?
Yeah.
So I got involved with a company that was selling like offshore investments.
Oh, hey.
That later got exposed on 60 Minutes.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. That is awesome.
I was still selling for them when the episode aired, and
is
I was
amazing.
in the background. I'm like, oh my gosh, there I am. Like, cause they had one of their
my
undercover
God.
reporters come to
That
Cancun,
is so
and I'm like,
awesome.
oh my gosh, tonight on 60. I'm like,
So
how do
were
I
you-
overcome
you were
this
in
objection?
Cancun doing that?
So we sold like offshore investments, and it was all about like learning about the Federal Reserve. I did learn a lot. Like, I had no idea about like the IRS is actually a private organization, and I like got through this. And so and you know me, Kool-Aid drinker. So I went all the way.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
My mom actually intervened because I was like, I shouldn't have to pay for taxes. It's a private organization. My mom's like, that is a monster you do not want to fight. So my mom like made me file for my taxes.
Good
because,
for her.
right? Because she's like, I agree with you. I get it. But I don't want my baby Mandy going to jail. So,
I also don't want to go to prison.
Right?
So I pay.
right? Exactly.
You gotta
Exactly.
do what you gotta
On
do.
time.
Yeah, so it was a very radical, like, let's be free and sovereign thing, and like invest in offshore investments. And and I was really good at selling it, and I loved it. But then, you know, you can't really overcome that objection.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on the Power of Lifting podcast. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. For more content like this, follow Eric Cafferty and the Mecca Gym on all social media platforms.